Hi, Shannon.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good. I posted the agenda.
Okay, great. Good job.
Yay.
Very easy. So much of this stuff, you know, but until you've done it once, you just don't know. And I think I have to be, I know I had to let you guys in, so.
I think you're going to have to let everybody in who tries to get in.
We are recording, so this is being recorded as well. So I'm wondering if I should, I'll just mute myself until we're ready to get started. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, Shannon, where did you post the agenda?
In the chat.
In here. Oh, it's in the file. Okay. Oh, let me see.
Is that what you?
I'm just trying to see because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Huh. Maybe,
Let me see if I can do it. I might be able to do it. I think I got it.
Okay. Yep, there it is. There it is.
Can you open it and just test it, see if it works?
Download. It's a download. Save. What does it say? Doesn't have permission to save it to that location. Can you do a Word doc and just post the actual image of it, Thomas?
I don't think it works that way.
So I wouldn't want you.
No. Can you see on yours?
Yeah, but I mean, I posted it, so my computer's probably gonna recognize it easier. Yeah, just for
Hi, Mike Mulder.
Hey, Margaret, we're in. What'd you try your finger again?
Mommy, why are you doing that? Got a huge spike in my finger.
Here, I'll mute us real quick.
All right.
So those of you, if you would like. So those of you who are joining us in the chat, if you can see the chat, the agenda is in there, transitioning to adult services. If you can click on that, it might make you save it and you save it to documents and then it'll open for you. Or you can just do it later, but it might be helpful to follow along. Okay. Okay, it's here now. I almost fixed it. This is, I'm gonna mute real quick. We're going to give everybody a chance to get on, and we're going to start in about 3 minutes, okay?
I don't want to.
Dolores, are you ready? Are you guys ready to get started? I can
Yes.
introduce you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we still have people joining us, and I want to welcome everyone and thank you for being able to make this last minute switch to the Zoom format. We have with us here today Dolores and Tara and Thomas in the background from Loving Life Care, and are fortunate enough to have them making themselves available to share insights into the process of transitioning from children's to adult services. It's such an important topic. We are recording this session, so let me let everyone know that in advance. You can post questions in the chat, and they will do their best to answer them. Once this is finished, we will post it someplace and let everyone know about that, most likely on Facebook. So without further ado, thank you so much, Dolores and Tara, for being here, and welcome. And please keep yourselves muted if you're not asking a question.
Thank you, Shannon, for having us. We're really happy to be here, and thank you everybody for flexing with moving platforms. And we hope at some point we can meet people in person. We look forward to doing an in-person presentation later, maybe in the fall. So my name is Tara King, and I'm one of the co-founders of Loving Life. And I have a long, my history and my background and experience is in education, working in all different school environments, and working with different vulnerable and marginalized populations. And I have been friends with Dolores for at this point, over 3 decades. So we've been in each other's lives for a long time.
All right, and I'm Dolores Sangiuliano, and I'm a nurse, and I bring to this, well, it was 25 plus years of community-based nursing before we got the idea to start this company. And I just had been into host homes. I had been inside of host homes in my nurse travels around the Denver metro area, and I saw what they were like, and I knew that there had to be a better way. And Tara has helped me forge, I hope, a better way of doing this. And I found also when I was trying to start the business, it took almost 12 years to even get going because there's no transparency. And so we have vowed, and it's one of our company values, to change the culture of the waiver system to one of transparency. And then I'll go to Thomas. Now, and introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi guys, I'm Thomas. Known Dolores and Tara my whole life. Dolores is my mom. I do like kind of billing, payroll, Medicaid compliance / kind of some of our advocacy work as well here. And I'm really, really glad that all of you are here with us today virtually.
Thank you so much for being here. Would everybody, would you mind introducing yourself? And also we were going to say, if you have questions, you could, if you would wait until we're kind of to the end, because this is a huge topic. And we don't even know if we're going to be able to get through it, but we do want to also tailor this to people's specific needs. If you have a question that you maybe don't want to bring to the whole group, that you can put it in the chat box and ask Thomas, and he can respond to you while we're presenting, if that works. You don't have, or you can even ask the question to the whole group, because you might not be the only one with your question.
So if you would be willing to just unmute yourself for a moment and share your name. And we'd love to hear, just in this moment in time, if there's something that's lighting you up in your life, something that you're interested in or excited about, who you care for, and to the extent that you're comfortable with, and also with HIPAA,
Yes.
protecting your person's privacy. And if there's anything that you would like to take away from today's presentation, we have an agenda, as you've seen, and we would really like to tailor this to you specifically if you have specific requests.
And if it's okay, I'll call on you and you can introduce yourself. I'll start with, I'm going to go in order that it's on my screen.
Okay.
Scott and Margaret.
Hello, yeah, this is one of our first classes. I mean, we just found out our son, he got tested and stuff, and we noticed he was having some problems. So we found out he was born with alcohol syndrome. So we're trying to see what we can do. He's like 13, and so we're trying to transition, to adulthood. And like one thing that we have in the family is we just got it and just not.
We're having a hard time hearing you, Scott.
Can you talk closer to the screen?
Hello, yeah.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me now? Okay.
That's
Hello,
better.
yeah.
Yes.
This is Scott and Margaret, and this is one of our first classes to get informed, because we just found out that we just had him tested and everything, because we noticed he was getting farther behind in classes and not paying attention, and his attention span was being worse and worse. So we had him tested, and he has alcohol syndrome and other things because we adopted him. And so we're just finding these things out now. So we're trying to, and he's 14. And so we want to try to see what we can help, in his future, when he starts turning into an adult, to try to help him out as much as we can.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and then the joyful things we have is just sitting around the table, just talking and laughing and having a good time.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Scott and
Nice
Margaret.
to meet you. The next person on my list is that Cressa Miller? Yeah.
You pronounced it correctly.
Well,
Yay.
thank you. I have one of those hard to pronounce names, so I try to be careful.
Hi, I'm Cressa Miller. I think I'm kind of in a unique situation because my son is 25 and he actually missed when this whole thing went down with the DD waiver and everything. He missed the cutoff date by his birth date. He missed it by 8 months. So we've been on SLS, since once he was on CES, and then when he turned 18, we went to SLS, and that's what we're on. We just had a meeting the other day, and we're closer off the wait list, but you know how that goes. I mean, we've been asking our resource coordinator for years, how close are we now, but she said she was more optimistic than she's been. So, but I just need to find out. So I kind of just want to get more information as far as the DD waiver, what to look for in an agency, and kind of go from that aspect. So I'm kind of at the end of this whole process.
And what's lighting you up right now, Cressa?
What's lighting me up? I don't like this hot weather. I want to go to the mountains. I want to go to somewhere where it's cooler. So.
All right, thank you. Nice to meet you. Okay, Anne Beth, you can go next. If you can unmute yourself, there you go.
Hi, Anne.
Hi, Anne. We can't hear you.
Anne, do you want to type in the chat box? It seems like maybe something is not working with your microphone.
If you type in the chat box and introduce yourself, will that work? We'll go on to Michelle, okay? Hi, Michelle McGraw.
Hi, I'm Michelle McGraw, and I worked with Loving Life as a contractor, translator for several years, and just fell in love with the work, and am following in Loving Life's footsteps, being mentored by them, along with Jill McGraw Powers and Caleb McGraw. We've formed Hand in Heart PASA, and we are here again to learn, to listen, so that we can continue the good work and the shift in culture.
Great, welcome, thank you.
Thanks, Mish. Okay, Jolene Chang. Take yourself off mute. You gotta unmute yourself. There you go. Hi there.
Sorry. Hi, I'm here. I just want to get to know about the transition because my son's only 10. So I just want to get ready and try to see what I need to prepare for. And he's 10, he has Down syndrome. And the exciting is I work from home taking care of him. That's the plus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jolene. And it's so wise to start this process when he's 10 because it can be a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, I'm going to welcome Joan Hayes. You're next. Unmute.
Hi, I'm Joan Hayes, and I live in Fort Collins, and I have a daughter who is 35 and was identified as autistic at age 32. She's also talented and gifted and high intelligence. And so we didn't find out about this until much later because she's fairly independent and has done well in her life until she started struggling with living independently. So we're new to all of this, and she's on an SLS waiver, and we're learning more about other options for support because the SLS waiver is inadequate for her needs.
What's lighting you up now, Joan?
Gardening.
Yes.
I'm an avid gardener, and it's so great to be able to be outside this time of year. There's so many flowers in my yard. I just love it.
Right on. Thank you, Joan. Okay, next is Katie Self.
Hi, I'm Katie Self. Nice to meet you. I have a son with autism who is 14, who I'm trying to figure out what to do to help him. He's on the CES waiver. And he was fully vaccinated as of Thursday, and we went to jump at Defy yesterday, and that was amazing because he's been looking forward to it for the entire pandemic.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. And Michael Mulder, you want to unmute yourself? You're next.
Well, I'm Michael Mulder. I have a 17 daughter with severe autism, and fortunately, Dolores already, who's been a big source of information for me on what's coming. But I need to ensure smooth transition from CES waiver to DD waiver. My wife and I kind of already know what we want to do. It's just, understanding the new waiver requirements and making sure we get all of our ducks in a row. You've got all these paperwork things coming up, so we want to make sure we get them all done in time.
All right, thank you. And what's lighting you up right now, Michael?
What was that?
What's lighting you up? What do you feel good about?
Well, we're finally able to start taking our daughter out to some of her favorite restaurants again. It's a long time. It's kind of terrible how much of a recluse you become with COVID out there, and then your kid becomes even more of a recluse. And it's like, gee, how can we integrate back into society again? So it's been kind of a challenge, just trying to get her back out into the world. And some of her favorite restaurants have been a big plus.
Oh, good. Thank you, Michael. Robin Tatum.
Hi, I'm Robin Tatum, and I'm actually coming from Lyman, Colorado. I'm employed with my local school, and I'm my son's transportation. I take him back, so I'm his para. And so a driver and I work for the school, and we transport our son, my son, not his son, but my son, Josiah, who is 18, to Firefly Autism School.
Oh,
and so we travel. It almost takes about an hour, almost close to 2 hours to get there, hour 45, 50 every day, all year round. And he just turned 18 in March on St. Patrick's Day. And I have an upcoming meeting for SLS waiver, which will be probably coming up in a couple of weeks. And so when I saw this online, I thought, oh, let me get ahead and get some information before I have that important meeting for his services. I am getting that. I will have that meeting and interview with family support. With family support. So I don't know if you heard of family support. I'm in a rural area, so family support kind of helps.
Okay. Is family support will be your PASA supporting you?
That will be that's who I will have a meeting with, and we will do it at the Firefly Autism School, because I had to have that extra person, because I'm by myself now. My 6th child left for college last year. So Josiah is my 7th child, and he's the one that I transport every day to the school and back. So I just thought I wanted to give some information of what I'm up against with the SLS waiver.
With the SLS waiver? Yes. Okay.
I'm sure my wife would want to say hi to you, Robin.
Tell Chris hello. I saw your name, son.
Yeah.
And, tell the princess I said hello also. The princess is his 17-year-old.
I will tell them both. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Robin. What's lighting you up right now?
Well, I am feeling good because at 14 months, my son Josiah and I had been away from school. So he did well with online telehealth services, but we just started going back to school a few weeks ago. Now we're doing full-time back, doing the 5 days back at Firefly. And I know he was happy, and I'm happy to be out the cave. So nice to come back and take him and to see how happy he is about seeing his peers, because the last time he saw them, he was 16, and when they shut down, he was turning 17 that following week. But by the time we came back, he's 18. So they missed his 17th birthday. We usually have at the school. So I feel good about bringing him back. And now that he's older, I see some different behavior changes for the best, because I had to deal with it by myself, although we still have ups and downs sometimes. So it's nice to meet some new friends, and it's nice to get out, and he's happy to be back to school.
Great.
All right,
Welcome.
thank you, Robin. Okay, now we have Patricia and Miguel.
Good afternoon. My son Miguel just turned 17. He is blind. He has autism and also epilepsy. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the different waivers, because of his multiple disabilities, he qualifies for different waivers. So, and I'm grateful for opportunities like this. I'm grateful for virtual meetings, because otherwise I couldn't do it. So thank you guys.
Right.
Right.
Good.
Thank you, Patricia. Nice to meet you. Okay, Thomas, we already met you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, were you done? I was going to move on unless you're not done.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. You were putting on your headphones. Okay, Thomas,
Yeah,
we're speaking over you. Jill, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Jill McGraw Powers. I am a registered nurse, and I used to work with Dolores once upon a time as a nurse, and I knew about this business that she was doing, and so now my sister Michelle McGraw and I are going to just learn. I'm here to learn, so we can continue this wonderful work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Kathy Maestas. Okay, Kathy's having technical difficulties, so she'll put her intro in the chat.
Great. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. Debbie Renaud.
Debbie, we can't hear you. Just gonna see if she put anything in the chat.
Debbie, do you want to put your introduction in the chat because we can't hear you? Okay, I'm going to go to Caleb. Caleb.
Hi, my name's Caleb McGraw. I'm working with my mom and my aunt, Michelle McGraw and Jill Powers. I'll be being an understudy to Thomas and learning billing and financials, and I'm sure some compliance stuff as well. So I'm just here to learn, and I'm really happy that I've been able to get outside and do some outdoor activities as of late with the nice weather.
Awesome. Welcome, Caleb.
Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
Okay. Amy Caulfield, you're next.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I'm Amy. We live in Pueblo. My son Ethan will turn 18 at the end of December. He has autism. He's currently on the CES waiver. And really, my biggest question concerns SSI and guardianship. I don't know if that's totally separate from applying from like these other waivers. Would love some guidance on that, and to know whether having an attorney is a requirement. Those are kind of my big questions.
Okay, and what's lighting you up right now, Amy?
Well, we discovered during the pandemic a horse stable that's about 5 minutes from our house. So that's never been our family until now, but now it's a big deal for us. So we go out to these stables when we can, not so much that it's so hot, but it's really cool.
Oh, right on. Thank you, Amy. And no, you do not need a lawyer.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to say that to everybody. You don't need a lawyer for Social Security or for guardianship.
We'll talk.
Yeah,
But we'll
it
talk
is
more
on our
about that.
agenda,
It's
so.
on our agenda. So thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Rebecca, you're next. Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
I am driving, so if I sound distracted, that's why.
Okay.
We actually just left OT right next to the autism community store, so we're on our way home. I have a 15-year-old who has autism. He's on the CES waiver. We had our first preparing for transition meeting with his school this May. So this is timely, and I just want to learn what I am in store for. I am a social worker by training, but I work with geriatrics and adults, so I don't know anything about childhood waivers. I'm interested in, and what lights me up are my children.
Right on. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Rebecca.
much. Thanks, Rebecca.
Drive safe.
And now we have Nichka Felix. Nichka Felix, if you want to unmute yourself.
Nichka put it in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay, well, there's all the intros, and now we'll get the show on the road. Thank you, everybody.
Is that everybody?
I think that's everybody. Pipe up if we didn't hear
Yeah,
from
I
you.
had a few other people that I wrote down in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
That's it? I think that we maybe
Okay.
we've lost them. Okay. All right. Well, this is being recorded so people can get it later.
Okay, great. Well, we wanted to start with just, you all have the agenda, or if you don't, our intention, our contact information is on here, our email address and our phone numbers. So if there are other questions that come up, you're welcome to use us as a resource down the road. Advocacy is a big part of what we do, and we really are committed to people having accurate information so that you can make the best decisions for your person that you're caring for. There is also a link on the agenda for waiver information at the state, so you can link on that and get a lot of really good information. We're going to start with acronyms, because we know that actually when you start to navigate this system, there are so many acronyms that get thrown around that it's really almost like learning a new language. So we'll start there. We intend to talk about the differences in the waivers, also to talk about the timeline for choosing your waiver, and when that should happen optimally, so that you can make sure that your person accesses services, the right supports and services for the long term. We want to talk about the support intensity scale assessment, the SIS assessment, and then we have some other considerations for you. We're going to also touch on Social Security and guardianship. There's a lot of other things that we hope to be able to touch on, but this is kind of the bare bones of where we're going. So to start with the acronyms, and we have some that are written down here. It's hard for me not to be writing on a board. I'm a teacher by trade. So we wanted to just start. CES stands for Children's Extensive Support Waiver. And we will really try, as we are presenting, to, if we say an acronym, to also say what it stands for, because it really can be very alienating, and also part of how the system keeps parents and providers in the dark by using acronyms that you don't understand. So we hope to help with that. We also will be talking about the SLS waiver, Supported Living Services waiver, the DD waiver, which stands for Developmental Disabilities Waiver, also known as the Comprehensive Waiver, the EBD, Elderly Blind and Disabled Waiver. CCB is an acronym that you will hear a lot, and that stands for your Community Centered Board. That's your local case management agency. That's the county level of management. You also will hear PASA, Program Approved Service Agency, which is the agency that you will be working with once your child turns 18. HCPF, Healthcare Policy and Finance. Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment is CDPHE, and DHS is the Department of Human Services. So there are a lot of other acronyms, but these are kind of the main ones that you may be hearing as we move forward today. Another thing that we wanted to mention actually is an organization called PADCO. They're Parents of Adults with Disabilities Colorado. So PAD-CO, Parents of Adults with Disabilities Colorado. And I don't think we put a link on here to them, but we can put it in the chat box. That's a great organization for parents to be involved in. They have a listserv that you can sign up for where you can get a lot of really up-to-date information, and they only work with parents.
Only parents.
So
agencies aren't allowed.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have a really firm commitment to not using acronyms, to giving you the most up-to-date and current and accurate information as parents so that you can best support your children. So I guess we'll just start through here. So, you know, one of the differences in the waivers. So the DD waiver, also called the comprehensive waiver, is comprehensive daily care at the family home or in a host home. So family caregiver would be under the DD waiver. If you are a family caregiver, you would be related to the person that you are caring for. If it's a host home, the person who is doing the care is not related to the person. And often they are living in the caregiver's home. The DD waiver also covers the developmental disabilities waiver, or the comprehensive waiver also covers supported apartments, so more independent living situations. So you must be on the CES waiver before the age of 18 to qualify for the comprehensive or DD waiver. Otherwise, the current waiting list is at least 10 years. So, and I'm not sure how.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. Oftentimes one's case manager, if your child is on the CES waiver, your case manager is trained, your case manager at the CCB level, at the county level, they're trained very much to encourage you to go on the SLS waiver. And the reason for that is because it's less supports, it's less funding that they have to provide for the aging out adult. And so they will kind of lean and encourage you to go to EBD or SLS. And remember this, please remember this. When your child ages out from age 17 to age 18 and you pick the DD waiver, if you don't like it, the same day you decide you don't like it, you can go to an SLS waiver or a EBD waiver. But the reverse is not true. The 10 to 14 minimum year wait list for the DD waiver, because for the DD waiver, you get a daily rate of residential tax-free compensation. You get the full complement of day program and transportation, the same that you would get on the SLS waiver. You get behavior services, you get, and you get supported employment. So that's what comes on an adult DD waiver or comprehensive waiver. On the SLS waiver, there is a more variety of services. You'll see a laundry list of the different things that you can pick on the menu, but it's completely budget driven based on your loved one's support intensity scale score. So yes, there is a whole lot of other things that you can pick on the SLS waiver, but it is budget driven. So,
and the SLS waiver really does not support your loved one moving out of the family home or longer term options. If the primary care provider is no longer able to provide all of the extensive care that your loved one might need. So.
And then the EBD waiver, elderly, blind, and disabled, that's a bit more compartmentalized. It's also budget driven. And we don't recommend that one because over the long term, it's basically a pathway to an institution. It holds place for you until institution becomes the end of that road. So we really won't talk about that one too much because we don't believe in that particular model. So we are on purpose not exploring it. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can save them to the end or go ahead and put them in the chat and Thomas can answer, and we'll start talking about the timeline. And we heard from Cressa that she missed the timeline because what happened was the federal government stepped into Colorado and said, hey, listen, you guys, you need to clear this DD wait list. You need to clear this list that you have of people waiting for residential services. And Colorado countered with, hey, how can we clear our list when people are turning 18 every day? And the feds countered with, oh, really? Well, then they need the choice when they turn 18 to go SLS or DD at that moment. And so that was a little bit of a showdown that they had. So
we're really glad that you're here now.
Yes.
Because, you know, as we've heard, some folks miss that deadline. And if you don't know the right questions to ask, that information isn't always forthcoming, that you even know that you had a choice for the DD waiver before your loved one turns 18.
Right.
So the choice between the DD waiver and the SLS waiver is made prior to the 18th birthday. Once your loved one has turned 18, the option is the SLS waiver and going on the wait list for the DD waiver. If your child is on the CES waiver prior to 18, then they have that choice. And if not, then they have the option of going on the SLS waiver or the elderly, blind, and disabled waiver. Yes. So as far as the timeline for, for you all, children's services has to be established. It sounds like everybody has children's services at this point. When they're 17, you want to decide which waiver you are going to choose when they turn 18. And then you want to look into choosing a PASA, a program approved service agency. That is something that your case manager can help you with. We also really recommend that you talk to parents, other parents who have been through this process. You can ask, other parents where the glitches were and, what parts of this process were easy and what were hard and who they've worked with. So, and PADCO, that Parents of Adults with Disabilities Colorado listserv, is a great place to ask who people are working with, what agencies they're working with that they're really happy with. So that's one thing that'll happen. And then there will be the support intensity scale assessment that will happen also. And ideally that happens 6 months before their 18th birthday. So on or after their 18th birthday is when you would apply for guardianship and also for Social Security, but you can do the legwork before their 18th birthday for that. And as Dolores said, you do not need an attorney. There are packets available that you can get from the ARC, or there are other ways to get that. We do have access to those packets, and you can fill them out yourself, and you pay a few $100s to the courts to file that, and a court visitor comes to your home or meets with you, and you can follow that process through. But you do not need to pay thousands of dollars for an attorney.
Right.
So, right. And the sooner you actually start looking into that process, again, talking to other parents, once you have a program approved service agency, some of those questions can be answered. They can't answer questions about guardianship, but they can answer questions about Social Security. So, and the SIS assessment happening 6 months before the 18th birthday, we have a lot of things that we encourage you to do. One is to bring a team for that assessment.
Yes.
Definitely bring multiple people that know your person.
Yes, and know your loved one on their worst day.
Yeah.
And also it's a very long assessment. I was just in one yesterday morning. It was 3.5 hours. It doesn't always take that long, but it should, because you really want to paint a picture, and you need to paint a picture of your child. Imagine you have to put, it's really difficult. Of course, it's difficult to sit for 3 hours and talk about all of the things that your loved one cannot do, but that's what you need to do. You need to imagine in your mind that you are no longer in the picture, that the home this person lives in is no longer an option, and that a complete stranger in a completely strange environment is going to now take over today with no information. And that's how you need to answer each and every question. Because what we've run into is parents, they have their routine, they have their home, they have familiarity, they have supports that they don't even think about, that they don't even consider. And what if all of that was yanked away? That is how that assessment needs to be scored. And so we do get a lot of folks coming through whose assessment scores are really way too low. They're perfectly fine in the environment of mom and home and everything that they're familiar with, but that is not what, and that assessment follows that person for years and years and years and years, decades. So it has to be accurate, and it has to be forward looking. And
the person who's being assessed does not have to sit through a 3-hour meeting.
No.
They do have to make an appearance, and the assessor does need to put their eyeballs on them, but they do not need to sit there while everybody meets about them. And so that's something that you can also set up ahead of time, is set up for someone to come and gather your person up and take them out so that everybody feels like they can speak freely and candidly.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever you ask to be on your team, somewhat people with qualifications, people from the school system, people, who have provided any sort of behavioral supports, doctors, psychiatrists,
therapies.
Yes, exactly. So those are people that are really valuable on that team, who can talk candidly and also can speak in a qualified manner towards their needs. The assessment scores highly their medical and behavioral needs,
Mm-hmm.
the supports that they need.
That's strongest in the algorithm is their medical and their behavioral.
Right.
So you want to have your ducks in a huddle about all of that.
Right. And just to understand that, again, like Dolores said, to just set yourself aside for a moment and really spend some time thinking about all of the supports that you provide in a 24-hour period, from the time that your person gets up until the time that they go to bed, because we know
on their worst day,
many of your loved ones are up in the middle of the night, and that it takes hours to get them dressed or get them settled in the morning or out the door or those kinds of things. So all of that has to be taken into consideration, because this assessment is what drives their services.
Yes.
And it is what will drive how much funding they will have.
Mm-hmm.
As Dolores said, for many, many, many years. And it's so much better if they are assessed accurately in the beginning than to have to try to fight to make changes later.
Yes. And that's why we recommend the 6 months prior to the 18th birthday, because if they come back with a silly number, which sometimes the state comes back and we don't even know, well, we've seen mistakes where they've said, oh yeah, that was great, this person's a 2, and we're like, a 2, and they turned out that they miscalculated it and the person actually came back a 5.
Right.
So you need to have that time, that window of time for appeals and possible error.
And the assessment scale, just so you know, goes from 1 to 6.
Yes.
So 1 being someone who needs the least amount of supports, and a 6 being a person who needs the maximum amount of supports.
Exactly.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and like Tara touched on the guardianship planning beforehand, you can get the whole packet done and you can have it ready to submit. and then just actually go to the court and file it on the 18th birthday. We do recommend that because we don't want much time to pass, because you never know if there's a crisis. You just want to be your person's guardian if that's, you know, if that's what they want and if that's what they need.
Right.
And also, Tara did mention it would be a few $100s, but you can also get that fee waived. They usually have a document that you can fill out ahead of time, so you can go before their 18th birthday and ask the court to waive the fee. Okay, and then is it okay if I touch on Social Security? Oh, what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to just touch on Social Security also. Social Security is online. You can go online right now and open up an account and get that document started, and then just save each page as you go along. You can also go back and correct each page as you go along and get that ready to be submitted. And one of the things as your person turns from 17 to 18, that goes in that Social Security packet, you have to put a letter in there that says, hello, I'm so-and-so, and I want to be the rep payee, because you're also going to apply to be rep payee. And you say, I'm taking care of so-and-so, and they're renting a room, they're paying me. And right now the current amount is $700 a month, room and board. And you have to put that letter in there, or your person will receive a reduced amount of Social Security. And then that is a nightmare of difficulty to correct. Okay, so
again, it's about getting the maximum amount of benefits and supports on board when they turn 18.
Yes.
So that you're not having to spend time going back and fighting for really what's your loved one's right.
Correct.
To actually have the accurate amount of supports and services and benefits. I did want to just say that in the timeline process of, you know, requesting a DD waiver or the SLS waiver, having the SIS assessment, you will choose your agency or PASA, and then there will be an enrollment meeting with the Community Center Board, the CCB. Make sure that you have your PASA, whatever agency you choose to work with, attend that enrollment meeting with you. We are seeing more and more that the agency who will be providing services and you will be working with, not invited to those meetings.
Shut out.
And so they are not able to, if they're not there in person, they cannot advocate for you and to make sure, and your loved one, to make sure that your loved one gets all of the services that they are, that's their right, and that belong in their service plan. It's where their plan for the year of services will be figured out.
And I would say that kind of speaks to just a broader kind of approach when you're talking to case management. In general, I would say try to have there be at least one witness to every conversation, unless the conversation's in writing, because you're just going to get different answers when people know that they're being held accountable. And that's just kind of an unfortunate fact of this current kind of climate of this industry right now, is that people just tend to not be as accountable when there's not a witness and when it's not in writing.
And we really suggest that you always put things in writing, regardless of where you are in the process, whether you are, you know, have someone who's on SLS and you are working towards the DD waiver, or you have a 17-year-old who's going towards the DD waiver, or you have a younger child. Always to follow up with writing. If you speak to your case, if you speak to your case manager on the phone, because often that's what happens. You will send an email and they will call you on the phone, and all of these things will get decided. Please follow up with an email saying, as per our conversation, as was decided in the conversation, so that there is a written record. We can't tell you how many times that has been really invaluable in being able to prove that mistakes were made, that there were inaccurate decisions that were made, and that someone actually said what they said. Otherwise, correct. It becomes, it becomes your word against theirs, and it's really hard. So just follow up with writing. It's a great habit to get into right from the very beginning, right now.
I noticed we skipped over build a care team under other considerations, and that's one of the things I do want to say to everybody. You have to have a team, and I know it's really difficult having a child with disabilities is very isolating. But whenever you can, network. Whenever you can, like right now, while your kids are in school,
Know other paras.
know all the paras. Make it a point to learn to know the paras, meet other parents, find out who's supporting who, because care.com is no place to get help. And I just want to say that try to network as much as you can. And I know that's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. I get that. And then you wanted to know what to look for in a PASA. And so we want to talk about that.
Yeah.
What you should look for in a PASA. Advocacy. We are enormous advocates. So of course we think that advocacy is the first thing to look for, but you will find that some PASAs out there, they will never try to go above and beyond or try to get a level change or just sort things out for you. So you really want that personal attention piece.
You have to think about what's important to you.
Yes.
Because for some people, what is most important is the highest daily rate.
Yes, the highest amount of money.
And for others, what's most important is the relationship that they'll have with their PASA for advocacy reasons. And there are things that PASAs can do that really go above and beyond just how much money they pay you.
Correct.
Some PASAs are a one-stop shop. They can offer you, residential care. They can, which would be the, on the DD waiver. And like Dolores said, there are day program services, supported community connections, which is a one-on-one model, and transportation. And some PASAs only do offer residential services. So if you want a one-stop shop where an agency can meet all of those service needs, that might be something that's important to you. If you want support around maybe being able to make sure that your person is at the best level of support needs. Sometimes people come back and later their needs change, and a PASA can actually advocate for that and do the legwork, help you do the legwork to make sure that their support needs and their level increases as their needs increase. And to make sure that they have the appropriate services all along. Should we talk about, because I just mentioned day program and supported community connections. So do you want to say something about that, Thomas, or we just wanted to talk about the different models and different settings for day program, because that will be something that is a service that is available.
Yeah, and like any service, again, I think word of mouth from other parents is going to be that, like, I think that's more important than pretty much most of what you could read on the internet. Just finding out what the reputation is, what parents' experiences are, is very important. Specifically when you're looking at day programs, now with COVID, they have added some new kind of models and options. Like us, for example, we had been offering a one-on-one even pre-COVID. We have a lot of higher individuals with a lot more complex needs, so that aren't, good candidates for a brick and mortar day program. So, that's something we have, but that might not necessarily be the best for everybody. There might be some that do have, there's definitely people that they do like this certain social interaction or certain, care providers at another day program. So with that, just kind of do your research, know that there's a lot of options out there. And just sending a referral through your case manager is not the best way to find a good day program. Again, word of mouth, almost be better if you could connect with the day program independently without your case manager getting involved, because they just send out mass referrals. The good programs, the good companies, a lot of times don't read those mass referrals. They're only taking word of mouth phone calls. So,
or someone calling them directly.
Because usually the people that are just answering those mass batches of referrals, those are the companies that are just, they don't really care about the quality of their service. They're just trying to add as many people as possible. So
correct.
Right. You don't have time to answer referrals when you're actually offering good quality care for folks.
Yeah. And it's administratively wasteful to answer referrals. So word of mouth is your best bet.
Right. And so, as Thomas mentioned, so the options are someone can go to a brick and mortar, which means a building. They go and they are
They get
cohorted
picked
with
up,
other people. They
or
get
you
picked-
drive them.
They get picked up in a van and are driven there, and they have activities. They may go out in the community once or twice a month, typically, even though the day program might tell you that they go out in the community every day. That doesn't mean your individual will get to access the community every day, but that gets them to a site. And there is also one-on-one, which is supported community connections, which is a community-based. So an individual caregiver would pick up your individual and take them out into the community for activities that are agreed upon, that are client-centered, that your individual would like to access, things that they are interested in. And you can have some combination of both. We have some people who access the community, a couple of days a week, and then also have an on-site day program that they attend. And so there are options, ways to create a team and a system and a plan.
Right. And I want everyone to hear this who doesn't have a child aged out yet. When your child turns 18 and is still going to school and is in transitions, they are still allowed to have on the DD waiver. Of course, this isn't true of the SLS waiver because of budget constraints, but on the DD waiver, they can still have the full complement of supported community connector along with transition services. And sometimes your PASA or your county level of oversight, not your PASA, your CCB, your county level of oversight will tell you that that's a duplication of services when your child is in school still, and that's not the case. Any adult is allowed on the DD waiver to have school and also supported community connections. And so that might be a consideration, not just for transitions, but even beyond. When you pick a PASA, to pick a PASA that does supported community connections where it's a smaller model. Like for instance, that's one of our values as a company. That's one of the things that really got us going and really lit us up when we found out we could do it, is our residential people who are with us on the DD waiver, they're already a little bit networked. So maybe the para or another care person or another relative or loved one, they will be the day program provider for the individual, and they'll take that individual out for those 23-ish hours a week and provide the transportation and bill for those. Most PASAs, I will say most PASAs don't offer that model. So if that's important to you, I would say seek out a PASA that offers that model. Because the brick and mortar day program, to us, we found that it was kind of outside of what we wanted to create, because we are anti-institution and we want activities, and I think everybody wants this. They want their activities to be centered around what they prefer and their own preferences. And that's really hard to get in a brick and mortar setting.
We want them to be meaningful. And we also have found that when someone is picking up your individual in a van and picking up lots of other people, that's really hard for most people to tolerate. And they also end up spending a lot of time in transportation in the van rather than actually doing the activities and engaged in meaningful community connections.
No, just a question.
Just a question. Okay.
What do you think? I don't know if we've worn you out or covered everything, or.
I feel like maybe it would be a good time to just ask.
Oh, one thing I will say also, so one of the selling points for the SLS would be that you can keep nursing services. And CNA services. So from there's certain situations where, depending on what agency you're working with, like the dollar amount for the care might be higher. So that is kind of something that is kind of the selling point there. And we look at it as really, it's a long-term thing. And again, you can always go back to the SLS waiver, the DD waiver. For one, if your child is potentially a candidate to be someone that might be able to live independently in a supported apartment, getting daily checks, like there would be no path to that on the SLS waiver. And then if something happens to, you as a parent and a primary caregiver, there's nothing set up in place to kind of take your place if something happens. So it might be a little bit more money for, on the front end for some of the years, depending on how you choose to go about providing your child's care. But overall, it's just not a very sustainable solution. And again, you can always switch to it versus you can't always switch to the DD waiver.
And CNA services on the DD waiver is a fight that is well worth taking up.
Yes.
And we are involved in that because
Yes,
it does not make sense that just because your individual turns 18 and they're going on this different waiver and you've been their CNA and they've needed those services, that all of a sudden they don't need those services anymore.
I don't know how many of you are your child's CNA now. Are you your child's CNA? Okay, so if, let's just say there's some ways where they try to sell the SLS as being lucrative, more lucrative, because look, you're getting all of this money, whatever it is, $14, $16, $18 an hour, being the CNA, 40 hours a week. Well, if your child, depending on how many hours they're approved, that tells you how high their CIS score should be. And so even if you crunch the numbers across the board, and I'm trying not to get too complicated, but if your child needs that much CNA, then their CIS score should actually be appropriately leveled where you would make more money just getting their daily rate on the DD waiver. So that's just how it is. If you are
question on the DD waiver.
I'm sorry.
I have a question on the DD waiver. I'm a little confused. If we are the caregiver and we are given the caregiver rate, but our child is still going to transition services in their school, is a certain amount of that deducted from our rate?
No. School is
caring for them while they're at school?
Education is completely separate and does not.
But that is a good point. So we've had it where we're taking on someone that's aging out on the DD waiver, and then we go to ask, they have, it's lined up, their brother or something's going to do the SCC. And then all of a sudden case management will go, well, that's too many hours during the day. And usually it doesn't come up. Usually, honestly, it's with TRE, the El Paso County CCB, where we get issues, because then they'll, well, how, are you sure they need that much day program? But they fully qualify for it, and don't let yourself get bullied out of it. Right. I would say, because you don't, transition services don't cut into it at all. They do have a rule where if you turn down transition services, they won't give you SCC, because then they're saying you're turning down one service and then taking another.
That's all on CCB.
Yeah, but that's so.
When you pick a PASA, pick one that watches your back.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
But to answer your question, school does not cut into these waivers. It does not cut into these waivers at all. Okay. They're completely different funding streams, and please don't let anybody tell you different. And this lends itself back to getting everything in writing. And copying anyone you want to, because you have the right to copy anybody to any email correspondence about this transitions process that you wish.
And a disclaimer about case managers, also called service coordinators or resource coordinators, depending on the community center board that you're with. They are trained to say certain things with direction from their supervisors. It is not necessarily malice. But they often are not trained to think outside of the box. So they are told one thing and they are unable actually to see any other options.
Yes, they don't know any better. They really don't know any better, because that's what they were told to tell you. And so it's really important that you verify things too. And anything that crunches your gut a little bit, that sounds like it might not be right, investigate it. This is not a 911 service. You have time. You can investigate, you can ask questions, you can asked, and they say, well, I'll have to ask my supervisor. Yes, please ask your supervisor and your supervisor's supervisor, and let's get the answer and send it to me in writing.
And you can get the supervisor's contact information and the supervisor's contact
Supervisor.
information. So
Mhm.
that is not something that can be withheld from you.
Correct.
We want you to be persistent. We want you to put everything in writing. You know, we also want you to get services in writing before 30 days of the start date.
Mhm.
So 30 days before your individual turns 18 to make this transition, please get that in writing. That will help your PASA, and it will help you know moving forward what all has been put into that plan for your individual.
Any other questions?
I was just going to echo what Tara was saying, that in my experience with many case managers over the years, I've had some excellent ones who are really knowledgeable. I've had some really well-meaning ones that want to help but don't know how to. And there really is just so much turnover. So I think that there's just a lot of forces at play in terms of what, you know, what was told to me at the time was that they were not able to tell me whether the SLS or the DD waiver would be a better fit for us. That was my personal experience, even though, you know, in our case, it was really clear that the DD waiver would be the right option for our family. So I think it's all over the place in terms of people's experiences. And really, I think one of the fundamental problems is just the turnover and people not having the knowledge to understand how complex this is and getting the clear answers. So.
Right.
And to know that you have the right to appeal any process or any decision. You have the right to appeal, and you have the right to ask for supervisors, and you have the right to change case managers if you're working with someone that is not workable. So that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
They're working for you. They're working for your individual.
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
Just about, maybe I missed it because I was driving, but
that's okay.
Where is there a comprehensive list where you can locate these agencies, the PASAs?
Yeah. It's on the state website. There's over 400 agencies.
Okay. And then if, you know, before the lockdown, my son hasn't been getting respite services or the community connectors since February of last year, just because of the lockdown and wanting to stay isolated. But he was receiving that through the CES waiver. Would the agency that he is receiving those services from now potentially be a PASA?
Possibly, ask them.
Yeah, they probably do take adults if they take children. So just
I know they do, because they're a home care agency. So I know that some of our respite providers who came to work with my son also, you know, saw 93-year-old ladies and had.
So it might not be the same. They may or may not do residential. Are you talking about getting the DD waiver?
I'm unclear at this point. He's only 15 and I haven't made any decisions yet. It's unclear to me what direction we be going. Probably he would continue to live in my home. But
he can continue to live in your home under the DD waiver or the
right, I got
SRS
that.
waiver or the EBD. Yeah.
Right, I got that. And then just I'm an only parent, so I don't know where his sister is going to end up in life, and presumably she will be the one who I will pass the reins to when I'm no longer able to care for him. So whether that will continue to be in Colorado or not, they're just so much up in the air with regard to him. So, but I guess the first step is to review the agencies and see if his current agency is included in that list. Otherwise, start interviewing.
Yes. Yep. And there's also turnover with PASAs.
Yes.
So to know that.
I wanted to
you can choose. You can change PASAs at any time. Also, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had on mute. My son is playing the organ, so if you hear a little bit, he's playing.
Music, that's fine.
Yeah, he's likes to play his music and keyboard, so I had it on mute. So he was having fun, so I didn't want to interrupt him. So my case manager for family support is very personal, very, very good to me. And like you say, my concern, like you say, they have to ask their supervisor. She has a special needs child too, older and got married. Okay, mine at this point, my guy has to be with someone. He cannot be by himself, and so he needs self-care. So I think that's why she looked at the SLS waiver, because I'm already employed by the school as his transportation, para. But she was looking at so that I can continue to be his caregiver. And so she looked at the SL, it would help me financially as well to take care of him. But he is not one to be by himself, to get an apartment. I have the aggressive part of autism. He is very good at times, but no one really could. So I came to this meeting today when I saw it, because I just spoke with the COO at Firefly Autism. They were like, Robin, we want to help you with this. This is a serious meeting with this SLL. We were going to have it last week, but she said, no, let us gather our team. So I like what you said, to have a good team behind them. They were like, let's gather our team for Josiah so that you can come in here, because we want him to get that 6. So they know pretty much I'm the one trying to figure out what's going on. So back to my case manager, so that's why we're looking at the SLS, because I'm still confused about the D. He can't work right now, and he cannot get on the bus if someone come and get him to take him to do any type of activities, because we never know with the up and down behavior. And I'm not comfortable. I'm only comfortable leaving him at Firefly because he's been there since he was 10, and now he turned 18. So they know. And I also had taken training on procedures dealing with my son's behavior. I just couldn't take, he's happy now. Sorry about that.
Robin, may I ask you, are you his CNA?
I guess you would say I am. I mean, I don't have any income except for being his para right now.
Okay.
So I have the school, like I say, where I work across the street, employed me to be his personal, or I wouldn't have anyone to travel as far as we go from Lyman to Lakewood, Colorado. So I happen to be the one, and then, and then I wanted to know on the road, what's happening with my son. So I don't have like anything else except for being a para.
So the DD waiver would pay you a daily tax-free rate to take care of him based on his level. Mm-hmm. And the DD waiver will pay you transportation to take him to and from school. And the DD waiver will pay you to take him, to have him at your home. So I guess I don't understand. Maybe we in further conversation why SLS would be more beneficial.
Okay,
because the only scenario, I'm sorry, and then I'll let you go.
No, go ahead.
The only scenario where that might even touch to be more beneficial would be if you were his full-time, maybe 50-hour-a-week CNA paid skilled care.
Okay.
Otherwise, SLS is actually, I'm just being candid with you, that's not going to serve him the best.
Okay.
It's got to be almost full-time CNA for financial wise to break even with what the DD waiver is. And that's only if you're also finding an agency that lets you do their day program and transportation.
Right, because school still has to pay you. School is separate. School still has to pay you to transport him to school.
But we use their van though too. We use their van. They provided the school van, and they provided a driver, because I wouldn't travel on the road with him by myself.
And that'll keep going. That'll keep going because that's school money.
Yeah,
that's
we'll do that.
Completely separate from any of the waivers.
So you're still saying that the DD waiver is better for me?
Absolutely. That's
okay, so saying. I need to talk to her about that.
See Cressa with her thumbs up. Yeah. Cressa has a child that she's been fighting for 10 years. How long?
Yeah, the
25.
He's
parent-
25.
7
yeah, the
years.
parents know
7
better
years
than
she's been
us.
fighting to get it.
Yeah.
So the parents know better than we do. And like I said, there's a reason there's a 14-year wait list for the DD waiver and no wait list for the SLS waiver. They are spending and providing a fraction of the resources for your son through the SLS waiver. So, and I can appreciate that the person that you're working with is well-meaning and kind. And I put to you that they just don't know better.
Yeah, yeah.
Not being malicious.
No,
they
no, no.
just don't have all the information. So
Right.
we just don't want to come across as saying that people are being unkind to you guys. They're not. Everybody's doing the best they can, we hope. But it's so big.
There's so
I mean,
much information.
there's so much information. We've been doing this for 7 years. We learn something every day.
Mhm.
Still.
So, because we started a process like prior to him turning 18. So you're saying that the DD, like, I don't know if I'm on the CES waiver I was on because I get things provided. I mean, if you look at behind me, it's all wood because my house, I got that put up because of the holes in the walls, the drywall, and the property destruction. So with the family support and the money that they gave me annually, I was able to use the resources to put the wood up, to get the wood I need, that there wasn't going to be a punch through the wall. Okay. And so now being he 18, she's concerned about, well, Robin, since you are his only caregiver, let's do the SLS waiver so that you can get more money besides just being his para at the school. And so maybe she doesn't know, like you said, but at the same time, how could I switch to that if it's a list, if it's already a waiting list?
Have you had your enrollment meeting that enrolled him into the SLS waiver? You had an enrollment meeting where you picked all the services, looked at the budget, and you signed.
Well, no, during the COVID time, we haven't had anything done yet for that. I mean, she's kind of got things rolling for me. And now I'm going to be talking with someone that we pushed it, like I said, in July now, because once my school stepped in yesterday when I dropped him off, and they said, Robin, can you push this till July? We want Josiah's team to be there for you, everybody, the mental, the doctor, everyone to be there so that we can get this 6, because he really does need that 6.
Right.
But I didn't know about the DD.
So I'd like to talk to you about this later too, or we can email, but our agency, we do pay a lot. I mean, we pay more than most agencies because we keep our admin amounts, but you would be in the range of $160 to $180 a day, tax-free, just to live with him without doing anything else on the DD waiver.
Huh.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the money is going to help because I'm a single parent. Right. The money would help, but at the same time, it's a lot of work.
Well, you're already doing it for free.
Right,
though.
right.
You're already
right,
doing it.
Right.
You
Exactly.
you can still be his para. You can still get paid by the school. Plus, he can still get behavior services. He can still get non-medical transportation. He can get all of these other things. So I propose to you, Robin, that you might be being steered in not the very best direction.
I definitely want to talk with you. I definitely want to talk to you some more. I don't want to take up from everyone else.
Sure.
But, my question is dealing with living in a rural area. What services is provided for me? Because I travel to the city daily all year round, but then some places are like, oh, this is for in the city, but it's not for people in the rural direction. So it's that way. I do have the guardianship papers, but I was also waiting to see if SSI was going to contact me because they continue to send his check. But it's like they kept sending me a year ago, like, what do you have to do to transfer for SSI? I know that's another question, so you can answer that, but I was like waiting for them to say, okay, he's 18, you need to reapply, or do I come to them and say,
you have to go to them.
And
you have to go to them.
Robin, will you send us an email or call us? We would love to have a longer conversation.
Yes, I will definitely.
So you have not had a SIS assessment yet. He has not had his assessment yet. Okay,
Yeah.
and everybody who works on his team believes he's a 6, which is wonderful. And don't pull the trigger on anything yet until.
Yeah, so we need to talk then. Okay, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Patricia.
Yes, hi. Do agencies like yours, I understand that some may offer medical health insurance for the caregiver. Is that the case with yours?
Our agency, we only have independent contractors and we do not offer a health care package at this time. However, there's a lot of options because the funds you receive are not income. It's a stipend. It's a stipend to care for your child. So you can get, many of our providers have Medicaid or Obamacare or another type of, what do you call it? HMO kind of setup.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that is definitely something to consider also
Yes.
when you're deciding on a PASA, because some people do want to, you know, even something as simple as how you get paid or how often you get paid.
Exactly.
You know, and not that that needs to be top at all, but I think you should consider everything at least
Right.
to some extent.
And get their rates in writing. Make them give you their rates in writing and explain them, because we have people who go to a meeting and they're told that they're going to get $190 a day to take care of their child. And they're like, wow, yay.
Find out what a year contract would be.
Right, but
Find
that's
out what
only 5 days a
find out
week.
what the total payment would be for
Right.
a year contract.
You need to.
So you can actually compare, or some people, they'll tell you the rate, but then they don't pay you the room and board separately if they're rep paying.
Right.
So then they're, you know, so.
Some agencies won't let you stay rep payee if you're the parent, and some agencies want you to. So these are some other considerations. It's a lot, you guys. And we want to keep having these workshops and we want to keep reaching out, and you're welcome to communicate with us too, because there's so many pieces to this that there's no way we can capture it all at once. Like I said, 7 years it's been.
And how do you recommend to contact these agencies? Let's say, for instance, do we set a goal to contact five or?
Well, Patricia, do you know anybody who has an adult in services who's happy with their agency? Oh, you just don't know anybody? Okay. Well,
No.
then PADCO or
I would join PADCO. I put the information up earlier in the chat box. Reach out to PADCO, because it's just a parent group. Like, they won't even let us, like, we can't be members because none of us are parents. So that's where you're going to get the most honest information. And I think they have the kind of, you know, culture and relationship where I think you can just put it out there, email all the parents in that group and get opinions like, hey, I'm looking for this service, or I have questions about this, and I live in this part of the state, and you'll probably get at least some starting information there.
Thank you. Thank
also,
you.
there are Facebook groups and Autism Community Store. Do you have any kind of networking going for that kind of thing? Shannon?
We do. We have a parent support group that that meets on Zoom once a month. That's another forum for being able to ask, you know, questions. It's not necessarily exclusive to adults, you know, to people who have adult children, but one of us is always there to moderate. So, you know, to the extent that we have a little bit more knowledge to share, because it really is the case. You know, Patricia, you're so agile and so good at getting resources, you know, for Miguel, but it's really hard. And I mean, even just among this group, I'm hearing people who, you know, aren't aware of some of the paid caregiver opportunities even before their children become adults, you know, that you can be a CNA, that I believe you can be with, because of COVID, you could be providing supported community connector services to your child under the CES waiver. You know, every day at the store, we see people who don't even know about the CES waiver. So it is really difficult. We're committed to trying to get the information out so that families, you know, are informed and able to to access the really life-changing kinds of services that are there, that because it is so challenging often to work and take care of your child and be involved in their care when they transition to adulthood. So
Thanks, Shannon.
Yep. Yes.
Any other questions?
I do want to, if I could just note also that those of you who are looking at the chat probably saw it, but Thomas posted the SIS instrument, the assessment tool that's used. And I would recommend that everyone download that document because it is not easy to get your hands on. And I don't think it's really fair to be going into an assessment where you have no idea what is going.
What you're going to be asked.
We get in trouble for even asking for someone's SIS when we get a new client, because for some reason they just really don't want you to know, because it really is super arbitrary also.
Right,
Another important reason to have witnesses and people that you know are on your child's side at that assessment.
And knowing that you can appeal. If it comes back and you don't agree with the decision, you can appeal that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And to have time to review it, you know, together with other people who are familiar with your child, because as Dolores mentioned, you know, and I think as we all know, we tend to see our child through the best possible light, you know, and focus on their positives. And we may not even interpret some of the questions in a way, you know, we may just not even see certain things that are there that somebody else might see. And it is so important. So while you have access to it, I would say to go ahead and download that. We will, we also have it available at the Autism Community Store. So down the road, should someone need it and not have it, we can provide it for you.
Yes.
Great.
Any other questions? Well, we are just right about at 3:30, and I am so grateful to Tara and Dolores and Thomas for talking with us, bringing this really valuable information. And to all of you, credit to all the people who have 14-year-olds and 10-year-olds.
Yes. And 25-year-olds.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Didn't get on the bandwagon. So you guys are just wonderful for being here and being such great advocates for your children. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to get a hold of you ladies and gents
Okay.
to talk to you a little bit more about my situation. And so I don't know if I should stay on or how did I get to.
If you look, our email is in the chat, but I can tell you what Tara's email is the easiest one. It's Tara, T-A-R-A, at
T-A-R-A, okay.
At Loving Life Host Homes.org. We're Loving Life Host Homes.org.
So Tara at Loving Life Host Homes with an S at the end .org.
.org.
So,
and we specialize
if I email you and then give you my phone number.
Yes, we'll call you, Robin.
I definitely would like to talk with you some more because I tell you, you've given me quite a bit of information.
You know, and we also like to meet people in person now that COVID is kind of, I mean, we're doing this by Zoom because we had an exposure, but it's actually our first, we went through all of this and this is our first quarantine only.
Where are you located?
We're in Denver. We're in Southeast Denver. We have many clients who go to Firefly. You practically have to pass us on ice, you know, sort of.
Well, that's fine. That's fine because, you know, once I drop my son off to school, like a lot of the drivers some of them have to turn back around. We're so far away that I get paid for the whole day because I'm there and I can't turn around, I can't go back and forth. So when I drop him off to school and then I get your address, I can stop in, you know, put my mask on or whatever, just to meet
we'd love that.
My driver can take me by because depending on where you are from Lakewood, you're not that far, I don't think.
No.
Yeah. So I would love to.
Any of you that we look forward, Robin, to hearing from you, and any of you that have
anybody who wants to reach out,
regardless of, you know, how old your child is or where you are in the process. And we're also updating our website that one of our intentions for our website is that it is a community resource.
Yes.
And has
Yes.
information that will be useful.
Yeah.
We're
We're totally changing it so that it is a place where people can go to get all of this information as they're able to receive it, a spoon feeding. And we're just in the process of building it. Right now, our website is our very first website, but we really want to do this because we got into this to change the culture, to provide transparency. We have succeeded as our own CASA and as our own company. We love our people. We have a lot of folks we work with. We specialize in family caregiver. And now, as we get to the top of the amount of people that we can effectively and meaningfully and personally and excellently serve, now we're going to keep serving them, and we're going to reach out into the greater community and really change things. And we mean that. We're not just, we mean that.
Right.
Because the suffering that goes on because of the misinformation can be stopped and can be mitigated.
And to feel isolated, when you are taking care of a child with special needs, I'm a person that like to make friends, so I'm so glad you invite me. I will take your invitation.
Yay!
But I know what it feels like to be by myself. Like I said, I have 7 children, and my oldest, the 6 of them are trying to adult. My last one went to college, and so it's now I am in a rural community with just my son. The 2 of us living large, yeah, right. But and so it's nice to get out and meet other people that have, like you said, I've tried, meeting parents and things like that with autism, and I've met some, and then they're busy in their life, but it still leaves me kind of like empty because I want to meet more people to say, hey, we can encourage each other. You can do this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And for my guy, I do want him to be with me. He will be in Firefly till 21 years of age. And, but I also want to know, by meeting other people, things will be still developing at 21. He might say, oh, he graduates here, but Robin, there's something else. Cause I don't want him to be bored just with looking at mom. I want to be able to help him, that's him just running by excited.
And age is just a number. And he, and the DD waiver is actually good for the highest independent and the least independent folks. It works.
I'm going to talk to her about that, but like you say, I want to talk to you because you say don't pull the plug, because they're trying to make all that, she's got to get back with me to see if somewhere the 5th or 6th of July, I think the school said, because we have a little break, hey, can she do it this day instead of you doing it on the 29th? Because we want to gather all this information. We want them to have a good team. So I'm waiting for her to email me back. But at the same time, should I talk to my case manager about what you said, that maybe perhaps I need to do the DD? Is it DD waiver?
Yes.
So I'm going to, after this, I'm going to email you and give you my number and address, and we'll be back on the road next week, Lord willing. So we get a chance to maybe meet.
All right. And everybody's welcome, even though you in Pueblo, if you come up to Denver. And also we go all up and down the Front Range because we have our care homes are all up and down the Front Range, our families. So we also like to visit you. So we are a community, and it is very isolating, and we do want to meet everybody, see everybody if we possibly can, especially now that the pandemic is starting to lift.
Yes.
And Chris, I'd love to have you over.
Yes. And we will offer something else again in person soon at the Autism Community Store.
Yes,
so
as soon as possible.
Thank you all for coming today. And
if I could just add one other thing, we're going to be having a resource fair, an autism resource fair on August 1st at the store. And Loving Life will be there. We'll have a lot of other PASAs as well, probably just a few that do adult services, but it's a great opportunity to gather more information and some of the advocacy groups. You can find out about services, and you could have an opportunity to talk with Dolores and Tara, I believe would both be there, or at least representatives from Loving Life.
And Thomas will come too.
And we'll have snacks.
We will have really good homemade snacks.
I really wanted to interject something real quickly that on the 25th, Developmental Pathways is having a similar presentation by Zoom on choosing waivers. And it may just be interesting to get that perspective as well. And to see how the different CCBs, because that's a CCB that is presenting it, and how they share this information, just in contrast, just as a comparison.
Yes.
They're doing, it's specifically about choosing waivers, and it's this Friday, or the 25th, I'm sure you can find it easily, that they are presenting a similar one, and it would just be interesting to see the differences in the way information is shared.
Yes, well, usually I can predict, I can predict that it will be all about the SLS waiver. Because the community center boards, the county level of supervision, they benefit if they don't distribute these DD waivers. They somehow gain financially if they keep people on SLS instead of DD. And we haven't quite figured that all out yet, because that's even less transparent and more complicated than everything we've just talked about. And Cressa, come visit us, please. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a great day. And
Right on.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and email you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Robin, are you still on? Oh, no.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon, so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk to you soon.
I'm going to end the meeting.
Okay.
Yes.